All right, boys, it is time that we start our next project. As you can see here, we have another Prebug Zuma. This one is already completely clean, and it's actually not mine. This is for the homie out in the Bay Area Zuma squad. He ended up grabbing one of the mint Prebugs I had about a year ago, the blue one that was super mint. And then he hit me up again and was like, yo, I got a green one that I want to do a full build on. And I was like, let's do it. We are going to be fully building this one, and we're going to do it all in this video. As of right now, I'm pretty interested to see what's going on in here because homie has a brand new Corsa on here already, and I think he said there's a brand new crank. So a lot of brand new stuff in this engine already, but missing the exhaust spring. But he wanted to go through and freshen it all up, and we have a whole new engine kit, whole new crank, everything we need to build this thing into an absolute ripper. I went to start it up the other day. He said that he had it started and it was like running super weird. I think he said it was backfiring. It was running really rough. Right now, I had the spark plug cap on. I tried to start it. We couldn't get to kick over. There's not really getting any fuel to the carb or anything like that. So nonetheless, we're going to get straight into the build. I don't care to hear this thing run right now. We're just going to take it all apart and see what's going on. See if we find anything maybe damage-wise, because he said it might have blown up. He's not too sure. But either way, we're going to fully build it. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing stripped apart. We're going to be taking it down to the bare engine and everything right now. So we're going to get this thing ready for its full build, even though it's already in perfect condition. Also, sorry ahead of time if my camera lens looks a little different than normal. I don't have an autofocus lens on right now because we were filming the BMW video. John kicked over the camera and broke my 4th lens for that camera this year alone. So currently 4 o'clock. Let's see if we can't get this whole thing just stripped down to bare bones in the next like 30 minutes or so. Also, these plastics are the new Scooter Swap Shop panel kits. I really like this color green. I didn't know that this was an option, honestly. I'd never seen this one. He still has a stock style petcock, so it's intake driven. Not a big fan of those, but as long as it works, it works. But I'm definitely more of a manual petcock type of guy. Corsa or a Contessa cylinder. It's hard to tell. I can't remember how you tell on the outside, but I know on the exhaust port you can actually tell. But the actual head itself looks a little different cut than I've seen on my Corsas. All right. It's annoying with the bottom panel. I should have took it off to save some time, but we got her out. We got her out, boys. Like 15-20 minutes. Got that bad boy out. All right, had to move some stuff in the garage. We got the motor over there. We get the bike sitting over here on some jack stands, funny enough. Let's just do it on the ground real quick. Let's pop off this top of the head and see what's going on. Wow, spark plug was completely loose too. Plug is brand new though, like brand new. Oh, it's a BR9 though. Got her loose a little bit. Well, piston's on the right way. Everything looks good in here. Take the intake off later. Ooh. Cylinder looks perfect. The cylinder looks perfect in there. I don't know if you could see in there. Cylinder's no markings. It looks brand new. You know what? I think this is what happened, if I remember right. I think what homie told me was that he said the oil pump failed on him and he thinks the bike seized. But really no signs of it seizing. Maybe right there. But the cylinder itself looks fine. Yeah, this crank looks literally brand new. Wow. Top performance. It's looking like it has a top performance kit on it. Well, no, once we get to there. But it still has stock clutch bell. Is this? Yeah, it's a stock one, right? It's pretty glazed. Oh my god. That thing came off so easy. I didn't even tighten it. Dude, everything on this thing has felt loose. That's so gnarly. Like even these seemed like very loose, like compared to how much it normally takes to get them off. There we go. Boom. Woo, a lot of grease. I feel like I can almost get this back wheel off by hand, given everything else didn't have like impacted on it. No way. Was that dude? Homie, maybe homie didn't ride this yet. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe homie did not ride this yet. All right, let's go in here. It is time now. We got the kickstand off. Oh my God, dude, there's no way. Boys, I'm not even kidding you right now. This bolt was already out. It scares me that maybe it's stripped in there. Maybe it just wasn't tight. It feels to be threading fine. I can't tell, but look at, there's so many of these that are just hand tightened in. This one's loose too. What about this one? Dude, brother, I gotta tell the homie. Oh my God, they're all hand tightened in. Brother. Dude, they're all, except for this one up here. Nope, that one's hand tightened too. That's without even having a ratchet on here. That's literally just twisting this. Oh my God. I wonder if he just forgot, dude. And this thing might have just had a gnarly air leak going on. Like this. Look how much stuff is on these threads though. At first I thought it was actual threads, but it looks like Honda Bond because the screws weren't sitting. I'm sure the case squished out into the threads a lot. Dude, this literally is the first time I've ever seen that. Dude, we might not even need a freaking case puller tool. This whole case is already... No way. Boys, here's what we're looking like for the actual engine build itself here. So, still gotta split our cases, but I want to get this kind of out of the way so I can get the crank in the freezer and then the bearings in the freezer as well, because we like to freeze those at least the night before. It helps with setting everything in place when these bearings and everything are a little colder, and then you heat up the cases. You'll see that here soon. But we got the Stage 6 MK2 Sport Pro cylinder, which is an aluminum cylinder with a dual ring piston. It's still dual ring, which is very nice, and it's aluminum, which is also very nice. It's a really good setup. I like these cylinders. These cylinders are a little bit more work both on installation and on tuning. You have to do a little bit of work here to case match how these have a wider port down there than that has. So you gotta do a little bit of that, and then tuning wise, they're a little bit more snappy. They're a little bit more complicated to tune rather than slapping on like a typical Polini Corsa, where those things are pretty easy and always consistent. These ones are picky sometimes. Both the builds I just recently did with these have two total different setups. We got the Stage 6 Pro rep crank right here, 10 millimeter to go with our 10 millimeter cylinder setup. So go slap that in the freezer along with those. And we're gonna get these cases split, boys. Also, just some of the other parts we have, along with more, is obviously a spark plug. He's got the S23 spark plug cap, and then a temp gauge, some S23 bond to slap it all together with, and we got our crank seals over there. So now we got our engine parts bin, and then we got the one way over here, which is just the actual chassis parts. So that's how we're doing it, boys, and let's get some more of this out the way, get focused on splitting these cases up. All right, boys, as you can see, we got our cases cleaned up. I just got done power washing this thing, and I slapped the cases back together, a couple bolts in there to set down our gasket, because this is where we need to open this case up and Dremel it in to port match on the cylinder. So as you can see there, the additional port back there, it's not typically on the cylinder, runs right into here. So we're gonna come in here with the Dremel. Kind of want to find a happy medium. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed, but the gasket's moving too much. But you get the point, and we're not going straight down with the Dremel. We're kind of banking it in. As you can see, this port comes at a side angle, and if you bank it in, it kind of flows directly into the case here. So you'll see when I'm done, but simple as that, boys. Just gasket off. Boom. Boys, it is time to get these bearings in this engine. So we're going to take our cases, which we now ported to match the cylinders. Just adding a little bit into there, a little bit on both sides. Oh, it's overexposed. I'm not used to this lens. What's up, dude? We're going to take our torch. We only got the big boy working right now, so take this big ass torch, heat up these cases a little bit, and then we got our bearings on some dry ice right now. Come in here. Got the bearings and the crank sitting on some dry ice, and then those will literally fall right in. Right. Next bearing. There we go. Time to throw some S23 bond all over the seal of our cases. Get it ready to go. Woo! Take this side, slide it right into this side. Easy peasy, boys. Just like that. Press her down good. Make sure she's fully seated. So after slapping together this vertical Minarelli for the homie Bay Area's Zuma over here, I impulsively decided to take it back apart because I did not like the way this stage 6 crank was sitting in there. From a certain angle, you could see that this ignition side of the crankshaft was just a little wonky, and these crankshafts aren't the best. This is not the HPC one. This is the replica, and it's a lot heavier, and as you can tell, just look at the difference in this. He originally had the polini one in there, and there's literally nothing wrong with this polini one. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these bearings off and reuse this setup here, because this motor was literally brand new when he brought it over here. It was just some small things, as you guys saw, with a lot of loose bolts and everything, and causing this thing not to run. So I am going to pop these back off, and I have another set of bearings I'm just going to trade out. And we will slap this thing back together using the polini crankshaft. We just did the squish, so I'm about to pull the head off right now, and we got our solder in there, as you could tell, and it looks like that was a lot of squish. Wow. Alright, well, I'm assuming we're gonna need some more gasket. This is just with the one gasket this kit comes with. If you want to know more on how to measure squish, basically you put a solder on the piston, smash it with the head, and then you take a measurement with a micrometer to this piece of metal right here on the solder, and that's how much squish you have between the top of the piston and the head. There's a full-length video here on my MOPBOYZ second channel if you want to learn that, but we're going to get this squish dialed in and get it sealed up, and we'll get back to you guys. Alright, threw an air leak down tester on it, and she's been holding this PSI for about 15 minutes. We'll let it sit for a little bit longer, but it's exactly at 6, and this thing ain't dropping, boys, and we're doing good right now. So I actually, at first it was leaking, I got scared. If you watch the other videos, I usually run this purple grip cushion that I cut out right here from an old BMX grip to seal off this exhaust with a plate, and it had been used too many times, and it had some little cracks going right there, so it was actually leaking out right there, and I got scared because I was watching the gauge keep dropping, spraying water and soap everywhere trying to find it, and it turned out to be the grip. So replaced that grip, and now we're still holding exactly at 6, boys. It's not a tiny bit above still, so we're good. I'm gonna get this scooter ready. Basically put the motor back in the scooter so we can get this thing kick started and start running some heat cycles on this thing and getting it broken in. For the squish on this one, we did it at a 0.7, our typical setup that we do on the stage 6. We actually had to run 2 base gaskets that I had. Luckily, I always have a fat stack of random base gaskets in here because the kit only comes with 1, and the squish was at a 0.45 before, which is really, really small. So I went 0.7, which I typically do on all these setups. Ran 2 base gaskets, got that in there. Stage 6 big manifold intake here with the regular stage 6 reeds in it. Maybe eventually he should throw some V-Force reeds in there, that'd be nice. We got our crank seals, everything in there. Like I said, we went back and put the polini crank in because the polini crank's a way better crank, and messing around with that stage 6 crank, I noticed a lot of little issues that I did not like with the replica one. We ditched it, went back to polini. Luckily, I always keep sets of polini crank bearings in stock here. Luckily it had some extra bearings, so we took the old bearings off that one that he had previously, threw some new bearings in there, brand new crank seals, and we got her all ready to go, boys. Flash it with the head, and then you take a measurement with a micrometer to this piece of metal right here on the solder, and that's how much squish you have between the top of the piston and the head. There's a full-length video here on my MOPBOYZ second channel if you want to learn that, but we're going to get this squish dialed in and get it sealed up, and we'll get back to you guys. Alright, threw an air leak down tester on it, and she's been holding this PSI for about 15 minutes. We'll let it sit for a little bit longer, but it's exactly at 6, and this thing ain't dropping, boys, and we're doing good right now. So I actually, at first it was leaking, I got scared. If you watch the other videos, I usually run this purple grip cushion that I cut out right here from an old BMX grip to seal off this exhaust with a plate, and it had been used too many times, and it had some little cracks going right there, so it was actually leaking out right there, and I got scared because I was watching the gauge keep dropping, spraying water and soap everywhere trying to find it, and it turned out to be the grip. So replaced that grip, and now we're still holding exactly at 6, boys. Basically put the motor back in the scooter so we can get this thing kick started and start running some heat cycles on this thing and getting it broken in. For the squish on this one, we did it at a 0.7, our typical setup that we do on the stage 6. We actually had to run 2 base gaskets that I had. Luckily I always have a fat stack of random base gaskets in here because the kit only comes with 1, and the squish was at a 0.45 before, which is really, really small. So I went 0.7, which I typically do on all these setups, ran 2 base gaskets, got that in there. Stage 6 big manifold intake here with the regular stage 6 reeds in it. Our crank seals, everything in there. Like I said, we went back and put the polini crank in because the polini crank's a way better crank, and messing around with that stage 6 crank, I noticed a lot of little issues that I did not like with the replica one. I usually run the HPC one. The replica one was not looking like I like. We ditched it, went back to polini. Luckily, I always keep sets of polini crank bearings in stock here. Luckily, it had some extra bearings, so we took the old bearings off that one that he had previously, threw some new bearings in there, brand new crank seals, and we got her all ready to go, boys. See, we got homie's build slapped together now. So we got the motor in, we put the ignition back on, and we don't have the cooling shrouds on right now for the first fire up. Just make sure we don't have any leaks, etc., etc. We want it to get a little warm pretty quick, let it cool down, and then do some heat cycles on it. So this side we're throwing the CVT back in. We're using all his old stuff, but we might have to change some things because I see that he has a aftermarket clutch here. It looks like a polini clutch, but it's not adjustable, and it has soft springs in it. And I don't know if I have those springs. I'm going to have to check if he gave it to me. But for first fire up, we're just going to throw it in right now, and then I'll mess with everything later. But that contra feels really soft now that I just did that as well. But obviously, just want to make sure first, before we spend more time doing this, that everything engine-wise is dialed. So we got to hear it fire up. We're running a stage 6 exhaust, which I'm not too familiar with. I ran the one on my F12, but that was a high-end, like a 1200, R1200. This one, I don't even know what the name of it is. I'm going to have to look it up, but I usually go for Yusuni R's for this setup. So I'm curious on how the stage 6 will do. Alright, we already put the carb on and sucked fuel into the carb, so should have fuel in it. Everything ran a new ground because we deleted the starter, put a new spark plug cap on here because he had it. We didn't run the temp gauge yet because this is just literally fire it up, barely let it get warm this time, and then we will take it back down. But choke cable is so tight. What the hell? I feel like the choke is on. We changed out the cable choke, which was a little tight, for manual choke, because I felt like the choke was still on. No matter if I turned the choke off or on, the bike sounded the same. Perfect. No more full choke. No more cable choke. Alright, we have slapped back together the scooter. We have the cooling shrouds on it now, seats on it. And I'm going to do the first ride in this thing. I know the carb tuning is way off, probably the CVT too. But I did like 5 heat cycles of just warming this thing up and letting it cool down. Idling, now I want to get one with it actually running. So I'm not going to go anything crazy. Cruise it up and down the street a couple times. And then get an idea for the carb tuning to get somewhat of a setup thrown in here for next time. So got the temp gauge hooked up now. So should be good to go. Running a tad lean, as you can hear. The clutch is weird. Boys, another ripper. I love these setups with these cylinders. These are honestly probably the best setup if you're going to go with a Prebug Zuma. Stage 6 MK2 cylinder. You always need the Stage 6 big manifold. Stage 6 HPC crank or like a polini crank. Pretty top, or a Malossi crank as well. Polini carb, you guys see me do a build similar to this on various setups. Now with the Stage 6 one, I think this is probably the 5th or 6th one we built like this. I love it. The only thing that I would change is some in the CVT. Like I said, he had a non-adjustable polini clutch. We're getting rid of that. It's a 105 millimeter. We're going with the 107 and a new clutch bell. So that is on the way. Until that gets here, we're kind of at a standstill. I have a lot of carb tuning to do and a lot of CVT tuning to do on this thing. And next time we'll get that done, along with some work beginning on this BWS. So this is probably going to be the last build of something like this of the year, because this year I want to focus on some bigger and some crazier projects. You've seen a similar build to this multiple times. This is pretty much the generic setup I go for on these Prebug Zumas. But I'm absolutely in love with the green panels on this scooter with the bronze goldish looking rims. Like, this scooter looks so good to me. And get her finished up in the next video. But that's going to do it for this one, boys. It's the first video of the year. Make sure you guys slap a thumbs up on this one. And we got so much crazy projects to come. I was hoping to tie this one up and finish it last year, which majority of we did. It's the first day of the year right now. This is kind of like the final build of 2024 and 2025. We got some projects coming for you guys, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.